y'all, Coach Amy here. It's our crossover class. So we're going to talk about the definition of crossovers, how to use crossovers to feed your family, how to build a crossover, how to build a wise crossover, and how to use crossovers if you are, I have a hair doing a rogue thing, how to use crossovers if you're expecting or nursing, and who else should use crossovers. I didn't include that in my advertisement, but I think that's important to talk about. So when you are typically coming into Trim Healthy Mama, you are wanting to lose weight, right? I mean, that's 95% of the time, that's the reason people find Trim Healthy Mama. Now, there are people who might want to gain weight healthier, right? Healthier ways of gaining weight, or they just want to be healthy, or blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's all kinds of things, but typically they're wanting to lose weight. So the whole point of Trim Healthy Mama with the weight loss plan is to separate fats and carbs in meals, right? Every 3 to 4 hours, you're going to separate them. Otherwise, you're doing what's called tandem fueling, and that's what a crossover is. You're having fat and carb together in one meal. So to go back to some basics before we get into this situation here with the crossover, let's go back to why we separate fats and carbs. So just say you have standard American diet, a slice of pizza, right? So you got a little protein, because a slice of pizza don't have much. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. But you got a little protein. Okay, fine. It's typically going to be fatty protein. And then you have carb from the bread, the crust. And then you have fat from the protein, the meat, the cheese, whatever else you put on there, right? So when you eat that piece of pizza, your body is going to say, oh, let me feed my muscles with this little bit of sad protein. And then it's going to burn through the carb. And then what's left is all that yummy, greasy fat that's on your pizza. And you're probably not going to be burning that. Your body's probably like, oh, that was plenty. I'm good now. It's fine. And so that fat stores around your middle. And that's why the standard American diet causes a lot of weight gain. So, it's just not wise. Now, a Trim Healthy Mama crossover is a more nutritionally minded, foods we're putting together, but they can still cause weight gain. I am at goal weight. Okay. But if I had a crossover for every meal, I would need to go back to Essie and Fuel Pull, because that's just too many calories. And so I would be gaining weight. So I don't, even at goal weight maintenance, I might have a crossover once a week. I mean, sometimes maybe more than that. Probably not. So that's just what I want to talk to y'all about. Are there some women who come to maintenance mode with Trim Healthy Mama and have more than that? Sure, I'm sure everyone's different. But for me, for the people that I've talked to, I even kind of pay attention to Pearl on the THM Journey app. She rarely has a crossover, y'all. She's tiny little thing. And I really don't see her having crossovers very often. And now that could be her age. I don't know. I haven't asked her about it. I might ask her when I see her again. But, it's just an interesting concept, because I think a lot of people have that misinformation that once you hit goal weight, you can just eat crossovers all the time. Probably not going to happen. Probably not going to be good for you. All right. So go into the Trim Healthy Mama plan book. I'm going to tell you what page to go to for crossover info, page 61. You can also go to page 29 in the Trim Healthy table book. Okay, so this is the cookbook. If you don't have this one, that's a good one. Okay, so the definition of a crossover is going to be keeping within the E guidelines, so no more than 45 grams of carb. Okay, you can have lean or fat protein. And same thing with the guidelines of fat and an S. It's kind of an unlimited thing. And then you can round out your meal in non-starchies. So you're tandem fueling, you have fat and carb together. So an example here, they say scrambled eggs with melted cheese, 2 slices of on-plan bread with some butter on it. And that's just a simple one. Maybe that can help you with your brain, kind of thinking it through. And you're just you can start building your crossover this way. And then we're going to talk about how to build it wisely. Okay, how to have a wise crossover and why that can be helpful in your weight loss journey from time to time. Okay, so choose your protein, lean or fatty, doesn't matter. Go either way. Lean protein, fatty protein. Okay, that's how we're going to build a crossover. Add fats as desired. Even if your protein source has fat, other fats can be added to the meal. Add your carb in meal safe amounts, no more than 45 grams of net carb. You can choose from fruit, gentle whole grains, beans, sweet potatoes, etc. Then you add optional fuel-pull foods to your plate, non-starchy veggies, berries. Okay, so breakfast, we already went through a breakfast example. So a lunch example, protein could be a burger, a beef burger, or venison, my fave, right? And then you could use maybe an Ezekiel bun. Those are a great drive-through stew. If you've ever found those in the freezer section at your store, I just bought Wes some. And so those are a great little option. Very drive-through stew, very clean, and very good for you. So you could choose something like that. And then you could have the cheese, the mayonnaise, and the avocado. Now, I would round that plate out with some freshies for sure, okay? Because I think that's important to do. Dinner idea could be baked chicken with skin, side salad with creamy or oil-based dressing, an portion size of stir-fried brown rice, or maybe a potato or something. I love a potato. So those are just some ideas of crossovers. I think y'all get that, right? Now, my suggestion, we're going to close the book. This is Coach Amy talking. How to make a wise crossover to assist you maybe in your weight loss journey. So some women, sometimes maybe they're in a stall or maybe they are feeling very tempted to go off plan. Okay, so two different scenarios here and one wise way to help. So if you're at a stall, maybe changing things up for just one meal, okay, have a wise crossover. Maybe you've been on plan and you're like, I'm about to lose my mind and eat the Reese's. Okay, let's not do that, girls. Let's stay on plan, but maybe have a crossover and satisfy something, right? It kind of feels like a cheat, honest to goodness. I'm telling you, I've been doing THM for over 5 years. And when I have a crossover, I feel like I'm cheating. And that might be my Pollyanna way of doing this. I don't know, but it works for me. So I start with an meal. So it's lean protein. Okay. I usually don't go over about 30 grams of carb in general anyway, just because of the way that's just the way I work best. And I always have those non-starchies. Then I add one fat source. I call those a light crossover, but it's also a great term that I think we can start using is a wise crossover. So if you go to the Mexican restaurant, right, and you bring your baked Tostitos, I mean, on plan with your chips, and then you have fajitas. I love some fajitas at the Mexican place. We don't use the tortilla. We don't do the rice. Okay. So you have fat, they're cooking your meat in fat. I don't care if you're getting chicken, they're cooking it in fat. Okay. And then you have your onion and your pepper, right? And then you would have, so you got your meat, you got your onion, your pepper, got some queso, got your baked Tostitos and the refried beans. So if you had all that together, that's a pretty legit crossover. I wouldn't call that wise. But if we're at home, okay, and we're having an egg white scramble, maybe we use coconut oil spray, we do our onion pepper blend, do our egg whites on top of that, right? Then we might have a piece of turkey bacon or some Canadian bacon. That's my favorite. Heat that up. Then we have 2 pieces of on-plan bread, like I love Ezekiel toast, and put some butter on it. That to me is a wise crossover. Okay. You could also do something like a shake where you use a lean protein source, some ideas, creamy, dreamy hemp, collagen, kefir, fat-free Greek yogurt, whey, any of those will be fine. Unsweetened nut milk, some sweetener. Okay. Then you could also do some coconut milk, which I think is super yummy. Oh my goodness. Unsweetened coconut milk in the can. That's what I do. And then you could put some mango or other tropical fruit. That would be a wise crossover. Okay. Now you might be thinking that is not quite what I had in mind. Okay, fine. I don't know what you're wanting to do here, but just go with that. Start with an and then add a fat source. So like those little options that I talked about, if you're stalled and you want to kind of jumpstart things or shake things up, maybe have that wise crossover. Or if you feel like you're about to go off plan, I would much rather you have a wise crossover other than, and then not go off plan, right? We always want to stay away from going off plan. But remember, while we're on that subject, if you do, you jump right back on in 3 hours. Okay. It's the beauty of THM. Let's just not abuse that. Okay. All right. Now, so does anybody have any questions about that? Y'all, all my girls, y'all all know. Y'all probably knew what I was going to say. No, Cynthia's like, no, I didn't. That's new information. I love it. Okay, good. Well, I hope y'all are enjoying it so far. All right, now, how do we use crossovers to feed our family? So if you've ever done group coaching or one-on-one with me, or I think I've shared a menu here and there for free with people, but I use my menus to feed myself. Breakfast, lunch, snack. Sometimes I throw a drink in there just for kicks. But for suppers, I choose typically 2S and 2E. But off to the side of my S meals, I have little carrots, okay? So if it's an S meal, I choose a complementary carb source for my family. And if I'm having an E meal, off to the side and little carrots is a complementary fat source. Okay. And so those are how you make crossovers to feed your family. So say you have an S meal, deconstructed stuffed peppers. Okay. There's fat typically from the beef and the cheese that go in that recipe. Now I would add another non-starchy in there so that we can kind of, round out our plates, right? I know I say that all the time. So but my family, to have a carb, I would do probably like a rice and bean mix so that they would have a healthy carb source to go along with that S meal. Okay. And then if I'm having an E, right? So chicken fried double rice, simply put some cheese on top of their bowl. Like it's not hard, Now, if y'all are dairy free, coconut oil is great. Avocado is a great fat source for your people. And they don't have to have 14 fat sources. Just one is fine. Okay. Now, like if you wanted to have broccoli as a side and put a little butter on it or olive oil, that's fine. You can do that. But, these full servings, I don't know. I think sometimes we just get so overwhelmed and it's like, I can just add butter to an E and it's a crossover for them. Yes, it's fine. So that's for growing children. Maybe for your man in your life who he's okay eating the THM recipes, but whatever. Give the man a crossover, okay? It's going to be fun. And I really just think it's just wise. You don't want to push them too hard, okay, girls? You just want to love on them. So for the men in your life, for those growing babies, THM crossovers are great, okay? Does your family always have to have a crossover? No. I believe I talked about that in Buds. Cynthia, is that right? And Susan, did I talk about that in Buds? Or maybe it was Blooms. I know it was Sunday night. But, they don't always have to have crossovers. It was in Buds. I remember. It was the lady with the beautiful blonde hair talking about her daughter. That's what it was. So anyway, my boys will have a fuel pull yogurt snack. And they're fine. Okay. Sometimes I make it a crossover. Sometimes it's an E, sometimes it's an S, and so it really doesn't matter. My girls are all, they're pretty maturing teenage girls, even though the youngest is 13. She's still like, we're all the same height, about all the same size and all that. And so they do have SE and fuel pull. Sometimes they do a crossover and they're fine. They are fueled great. They're healthy. They're not starving themselves or anything like that. They're not overeating. It's a very well-rounded thing. So just keep an eye on your family. You know your people, okay? So I think that's really wise to know. And don't get stressed out about it, right? And my kids are not 100% on plan. They are not. They ate like 14 s'mores the other night each. I don't know. It was a lot. Probably not that many, but they did. And, they have cake and ice cream and do all the things like that. But a lot of times they are on plan and I'm okay with that. I am. I'm not going to push it too hard on them because I think that could knock them out the other way. Now, Katie, I will say while we're on the topic of your children being on plan, Katie is my daughter that has alopecia. And for a while, she was very bald headed for years. And so we began trying to heal her body. So she began doing THM pretty much 100%, encouraged her to use, collagen and a lot of other things she got off of gluten and dairy and sugar all on her own as a very young, probably 8 to 9 year old. Because I told her, I said, this is what you need to do. but mama can't make you. Like, I just feel like you've already been through enough. I'm not gonna, push you too hard. And she chose, now when she would go, what we would call off plan for her, she would have a tummy ache and, that kind of thing. But she is healing her hair. I don't know if y'all have seen her picture. She's our youngest daughter. I don't know if that means anything because people can't tell none of them apart. But anyway, she doesn't have beautiful thick eyebrows yet. They're starting to come in, but she does have hair, and it's much shorter than the rest of us. But it's a head full, and I really thought the kid was going to be bald forever, but she's not. So anyway, we're really grateful for that, and she is doing very well. So this, if your child has an autoimmune issue, THM is great, but I really think you put the ball in their court, not trying to tell y'all how to parent, but if you put the ball in their court, educate them. We did the THM, is it the Trim Healthy You curriculum? We went through that, got that girl in the kitchen. Cindy's girls get in the kitchen and do things for her all the time. And it's such a beautiful thing to put that, kind of some authority on them to do things like that. And it's you're training them to be adults, right? Not just to be kids. You're not raising kids, you're raising them to be adults. I've always said that. All right, enough on that. Any questions on that part? No? Okay, cool. All right. So we talked about crossover, the definition. We talked about how to feed our family. We built it. We built a wise one. Now, expecting and nursing mothers. So are any of you people expecting or nursing? Me neither. Cindy got sent some passies though. That was so funny. Oh my gosh, I have to have a sip of coffee. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I got 4 of them. I don't know how. I even looked back. Yeah, I looked back on my Amazon order to make sure my kids didn't stick something in the cart or something, and it was not there at all. So
that's wild.
I have no idea.
That's crazy. Well, pass it on to somebody. Cynthia says, I'm a midwife. I have clients on THM, so I would love to help them here. Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about it because I know that people are interested in this, that aren't here for live. All right. So I'm going to refer to this section of the THM book because it is so good. It talks about who needs crossovers. This is page 63 on the plan book. So I just want to refer to that. So we're talking about high metabolism people. Okay. So if y'all ever listened to the potty, Danny, that's on there with them, he has a very high metabolism. Okay. Those people, those people have high metabolisms, and, some of your growing children may be that way, right? Could also be adults. And then we also have the growing children. We've already talked about that. Pregnant and nursing women, as well as maintenance mamas, who have to use, it says they won't use none of those. Pregnant, nursing, or maintenance won't use crossovers at every meal, but will benefit from sprinkling them in with regular S&E meals. Now, I've never been pregnant or nursed a child while doing Trim Healthy Mama, but I have coached many a lady in these situations. And the number one misconception, as I said earlier, with these crossovers is that if you're in those categories that you have them for every meal. No. That's calorie abuse. And I guarantee you none of them are making wise crossovers like I just declared, right? They're probably maxing out all the things because it's delicious, and I'm sure it is. All right, so what we're going to do here is kind of just think about how to make wise crossovers for these people. So I think it is important to go back to that thought process that I had about the wise crossovers. And just remember that whenever you have someone that is a growing child, that is pregnant, growing a child, or that is nursing, nourishing a child, you don't want to do calorie abuse because all that's doing is hurting the child too. And it's kind of, calorie abuse just is not a good thing, right? And so we want to choose wisely. I don't think piling cheese on is a wise thing. Most of us are not buying, stellar cheese. I mean, we're just not. So it's kind of junk cheese if you think about it. Okay. And so that's really not a wise one. A wise fat would be coconut oil, meats. You've got, and good meats, That's what I think you should do. Sometimes the budget doesn't work, and that's okay, but maybe work it when you can. Avocado is one of the best fat sources that you can do in these situations. And then also think about the carb sources that we're pulling in. Now, the whole thing with potatoes was a big, huge deal when Rashida's cookbook came out. It was just like, we can have potatoes, all this stuff. And I'm like, I never like had the thought that I couldn't. It just said to avoid white russets. But I came in halfway through the whole THM introduction to the thing. So I missed all the beginner rules, I guess you'd say. I know there was a lot of those when it first came out, but they've come back and changed and updated and stuff. And I think that is so amazing that they do that. They're constantly researching and constantly coming back and educating us on things. So you really want to think about the wise carb sources, including all those different potatoes are great. Now, white russets are extremely starchy. Okay. And at our grocery stores, there are so many other options. So I really think avoiding those for the rest of your life is wise, honestly. Now, I do love a fry. I do love having those from time to time, not going to lie. Our little sweet, precious restaurant that we love to go to right up the road does fries in duck fat, friends. I will be having those once a blue moon. Yes, I will. Now, that is a treat, okay, to me. That's so good. But white russet potatoes, honestly, they can be replaced easily. You got red potatoes, you have Yukon Golds. Those are my favorite. And then, sweet potatoes, purple potatoes and Yukon Golds are top on my list. I love those so much. We planted those this past season. We're behind now. I think we should have planted them already. So I won't be having those fresh from the garden this year, but they're so delicious. Okay. So let's go back. Cynthia asked what rules I mean. So when Trim Healthy Mama first came out, it was this book. Do you see how thick it was? Like super techie, well, not techie, but super, I don't know, researchy, like really like lots of big words. I've never read the whole thing through. I never will. Bits and pieces. Y'all see I've got stuff marked. That's mostly hormonal and thyroid stuff for all my research. But it was very, it was self-published and they did an amazing job. And it is a bit restrictive, And so they've come back specifically on the potato thing. It was just like, we just need to avoid potatoes. You can have sweet potatoes, And then Rashida's cookbook came out and it was like, we can have such and such potatoes, we're doing, there's a golden stir fry where they use Yukon Golds, or maybe it's an air fried meal and had the Goldens in there. Anyway, people just got all in a tizzy. And so, they came back and they were like, look, guys, we never really said, and then people were like, yeah, you did. So anyway, it was a little back and forth there for a second, but they really want to stop and educate. The original fuel cycle is in this book and they've changed it because you were going so many days without having carbs. And so they updated it. And I just think that's really, really good. So that's just a few little examples. I don't believe that the numbers, like the guideline numbers, I don't think those have changed. I'm pretty sure. So I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh yes, pregnant and nursing. So I think it is wise to even say, let's fuel juggle those crossovers for these people, the growing children, the pregnant and nursing, the high metabolism adults. So just disperse them throughout your week wisely. So crossover for breakfast on day 1, a crossover for supper on day 2, a lunch day 3, and just see how they're feeling. If a nursing mother that has a baby that's in a growth spurt is just ravenous, maybe she needs to increase those crossovers. And Cynthia, another beautiful category in Trim Healthy Mama is the S helper. I do have that a lot more frequently than I do a crossover. And so it's an S meal. Okay, just an S meal, any of them, because I know there's several, right? And then you add a half of a carb source to that meal. So half of a sweet potato, 1 piece of bread, maybe just like a half of an apple or something like that. And so you're tandem fueling, but in a smaller way. Okay. And a lot of my nursing mamas my expecting mamas A lot of my expecting mamas that are experiencing severe nausea do very well with S helpers. And I had one, and she's had her sweet baby, and she's so sweet, so cute, but she had that severe nausea, and she has a lot of little ones at home, and she was like, I've got to function, I don't know what to do. And we started doing S helpers for every meal. We did, and she beat it, and she did so well. So that is a little tool you can put in your pocket whenever that issue might come up. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions about crossovers? My coffee's cold.
You've just made this so easy to understand. I have that book that you just showed, and I think I was in those rules when I very first got introduced to THM. And I just got so overwhelmed with it all.
Mhm.
And so you're just making it so easy to understand. I never did ever know what a crossover was the whole time, when I tried before. So it's just really helping. This is great.
I feel like I didn't tell y'all anything important. So I really appreciate that you said that. It's this right here. Like, I always underestimate myself. Bless. I love you, Cynthia. You're so amazing. You bless me. You really do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so glad. I hope that this will help. I love that you have clients that follow THM. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on if you have like a type 1 diabetic?
Yeah, so I'm not 100% on all of that, up on all of that stuff, but I do know that having a fuel pull the night before with some lean protein, and I know specifically that like a half a cup of kefir, double fermented kefir with some berries and sweetener, please put some sweetener in there, is very helpful in having stable blood sugar the next morning. So any fuel pull is fine as long as it has that protein, at least 10 or 15 grams, because it'll be more like a snack, right? Just, you don't need a whole meal. 30 grams of protein before you go to bed is not necessary. But I do know specifically that the kefir has been very helpful in a lot of ladies in that situation. And then also, they also do not typically have an meal for breakfast. They wait until lunch. And some of them do maybe their afternoon snack instead, or their supper, but the majority that I've helped or talked to, etc., do lunch as an E. And they also do not do a full maxed out 45 grams net carb. They'll do more of a pulled back, like a 25, maybe even a 20 to 30 range. And they always make sure they have adequate protein, 20 to 30 grams of lean protein. And you can even max it out and round that sucker out with some non-starchies. Yep.
Okay, that helps. My husband actually loves all my THM cooking.
Good.
He loves it. But this is one area, it's like he's nice and thin and I have weight to lose. So
well, did you hear my husband? Not even been a week, he's already lost 4 pounds.
What? Oh.
Yes. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. He said, your women's not gonna like me. I'm like, well, we don't like most men that start THM and lose 4 pounds. It's not just you. No, I'm so happy for him. And he has his inner, like, really, he's got a non-scale victory. I mean, like, his energy is it's just wonderful. I mean, yesterday he was like, I just drank coffee because I wanted to. I didn't have to. This is great. So we're thrilled. We're thrilled with the results. I said, you keep on going. And he's so cute because he's like, who was it? Katie made our supper last night, chili. Can I have sour cream? You can't. Really? Yeah. I can't have Fritos. I was like, no, let's not have Fritos. I said, you got popcorners or you can have baked Tostitos, but I don't have any of those. I'm sorry. So anyway, he was excited. Any other questions, girls?
I started to email you my questions.
Okay. So what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said I started to email you all my questions. I've been looking forward to this one.
Oh.
Okay, so my first question is, how do you find your happy range for your E so that you don't inadvertently create a crossover because you can't wait to have your next meal and you need it to be an S?
Yeah. So are you talking about timing, or let's start at meal 1 and it's an E and then how you make it to where you're satisfied for 3 to 4 hours. Is that what you're asking?
Right, because a lot of my crossovers I think happen because that's what truly satisfies me, and that's how I make it to my timed properly meals. So when I do an E, like I'd either have to do E all day or F all day to avoid the crossovers, but I'm still not doing myself any favors because I'm not getting the timing down.
So I think for you, for a few days, just do every 3 hours. Do you try to push to 4?
No.
How much?
Sometimes
Okay,
I
so
go
from
to
the
the
moment you start eating meal 1 and the moment you start eating meal 2, how much time?
Anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5.
Okay. At 3 to 3.5, I would prefer, okay, because we want to eat the meal within 20 to 30 minutes and then give our body a couple hours to digest and rest. All right. So let's talk about making an E satisfying. Okay. Now I know that's not the word we describe an E with, but you can do it. So your E meal now, do you do recipes or are you just building an E?
Some of both. Like I like the chicken double fried rice. I'll do like the egg white sandwiches with the bread.
Okay, so that one particular, your egg white sandwich. If you're just having egg whites for your protein, no, that's a red flag for me because that means you're not having enough protein. Now you may be. So egg whites don't really give that much protein. Like I really want you to measure that and pay attention. And you probably want to add a lean meat protein to that. Canadian bacon is wonderful. Have, collagen in a drink or whey powder in a drink and max out your protein, 30 grams in an E. That's what I want you to do. Okay. I want you to try that just for a few days and see how you do. Also, always round out your plate with non-starchies, raw veggies, steamed veggies, berries. Remember to have those. You don't have to do all of them, but those are the things that you can pad your meal with, round out your plate so that you are more satisfied. And don't forget, whenever you're building a meal, you can have up to a teaspoon of added fat. Okay. We're not counting the fat and the protein. No, we're not worried about that. Your protein's lean. We're not worried about the fat that's in there. 1.5 grams of something. No, but you can add a teaspoon of fat. So on those pieces of bread, put half a teaspoon of butter on one and half a teaspoon of butter on the other one. You can't, I promise, I do it all the time. You can get it spread and it can be satisfying. You can still have that flavor of the butter. And so that's something that I would really love to see you try. What you think?
I can do that.
Okay. She doesn't believe me. All right. So we're going to max out the lean protein. Make sure we add that teaspoon of fat and make sure you have plenty of non-starchies, berries. And if you have to supplement protein with a powder or a drink, go for it. Okay.
Okay.
And it won't take that long for you to kind of get that down. That kind of sounds a little overwhelming, but the more you do it, like if just like when you just said egg whites, I was like, that ain't enough protein. And it's just because I know, because I mean, I've been doing it for so long and I look at 30 people's meals every day. So, it's just something that I do. Anything else?
I have a question, but I think if anybody else has a question, I'd rather them ask, but I get super duper hungry at night, like after I wanted to stop eating. So sometimes it might just be because I'm not sleeping or not being able to wind down for sleep. And I'm up past like another 5 or 6 hours after I've eaten.
Yeah.
And I really don't know what to do at that point.
Okay. So my number one suggestion would be allow yourself to have anything fuel pull or sipper. Anything. It doesn't matter. Anything fuel pull or sipper. You can make all kinds of delicious things. But that's what I would tell you for sure. I want you to back up though. Make sure that you're fueling within an hour of waking up and then eating every 3 to 4 hours all day. Because if you're typically, not everybody, but typically if you're fueling yourself properly all day after supper, especially if it's a reasonable time, you're not going to be hungry after supper. But if you are, it's okay. Now that 5 and 6 hour window between supper and bedtime, That's a significant amount of time. I would need something there too, probably. That's a long time.
Like last night, I think the last 2 nights I've been eating dinner because it's my 3 hour or 3.5 hour, like at 4:30 or 5. And I just start wanting to graze at night. And I know that's not what I want to do. I just don't have a good plan for what to do. And I really haven't got into fuel pools or sippers yet. So I'm gonna have to work on that, I guess.
Okay. Well, just, I mean, if you just want to go into the back of Trim Healthy Table and look in the fuel pool section, this is one of my favorite things about this cookbook. That's on page, let me find it. Trim Healthy Table, page 548. There's 2 pages full of fuel pool recipes.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
All the fuel pool recipes in that cookbook are right there.
Okay.
Or you could, something that I like to do is a fuel pool muffin in a mug. That's really good. A 2 Good yogurt and strawberries. Go to my Simple Meal Solutions document from Buds and look at all the fuel pool snacks and desserts that I've offered, the simple ones, and go there. Now, a sipper, remember, it's not going to have protein, so it's not any fuel, but it could satisfy if it's more of a fear of missing out or a hand to mouth situation. Like if
Mhm.
my whole family's in there eating popcorn and I'm just rolling my eyes and aggravated, gritting my teeth. I know I'm not really hungry. I know I really don't need anything. I'm going to make a sipper. And that could just be an AHA canned sparkling water, or I might literally get out the 14 ingredients it takes to make a sipper. I don't know. It's different. Simply a THM hydrate with ice water. I mean, it could be any of those type things. There are even great in Trim Healthy Cookbook for when it gets warm outside. There's even some great little popsicles and stuff like that you can do. The cottage berry whip, I made that live today in my Southern support group. It's cottage cheese, frozen strawberries, and sweetener. It's one of the easiest things. That would be a great fuel pull for you to have in the evening. Okay. So
Actually
remember we
made
have,
Mhm.
do what?
I've actually made that before. That is, it honestly tastes like strawberry ice cream if the strawberries are frozen.
It does.
Yeah.
And then in Trim Healthy Table, they have the same thing. There's a key lime and there's a peanut butter one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, whose problem can I solve?
If I can unmute
Susan.
myself. Okay, so I think it was on our Buds call that I told you I was really eating too many emails, and figured that out. And now, so what I've been doing is eating breakfast around 7, and then trying to wait that as close to 4 hours. And I've kind of even went past that because I'm working, and I guess both the E or the S breakfast I was having was satisfying me. And so I'm having my lunch then, and then I'm trying to make my snacks a fuel bowl. Then I just get really hungry, by the time dinner. So I don't know if I'm almost scared of like adding another snack in there because I don't want to get too close in timing.
Mhm.
But, I used to eat my lunches more around like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I don't know if, or how to do my timing to where.
Okay,
I'm not so
start over.
hungry in
So
the
you're
afternoon.
having breakfast at 7,
Yeah,
S or E?
SRE, yes,
All right. Then when do you feel again?
like 11. So it's usually like 7:30 to 11:30 is
Okay,
how.
and then after 11?
Usually like 3:30, and it's a fuel pull snack. And then 6:30 or 7 is my dinner. And I usually always have S for dinner because I'm hungry by that time and I want something that really satisfies me,
Mhm.
And I have done better about not eating close to bedtime because that used to be a bad habit of mine. Like, the potato chips, anything, popcorn that my family was, all of those things. And
Yeah.
so I have gotten better about that, but
Okay, so with this 7, 11, 3:30, and 6:30,
mhm.
when you're saying that you're hungry,
I get hungry after like the fuel pull snack doesn't satisfy me, I think. Is what it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Then let's do S or E. It's-
Oh,
You have plenty of time.
okay.
It's fine. Are you actively losing weight?
Not really. And I
Not
haven't.
really.
been.
Okay. Well, I want you to try this S or E for the next few days and see how you do.
Okay.
And it may just be some weird thing going on. I mean, there's no telling. Oh my gosh. Are there so many factors or are there so many factors, Cindy? It's crazy.
Well, I think I was eating too many E's in the beginning, thinking those were like lower in calorie.
And they are
yeah.
compared to S typically, but you want to have a good mix. Typically, when with a one-on-one that is willing to play my silly game, I
Mhm.
challenge them to have equal SE and fuel pull in their week.
Okay.
So you typically will have 28 fuelings in my land that
Mhm.
I live in. Not everybody lives there. So you have breakfast, lunch, snack, supper. 4 times 7 is 28. So if you have, you try to get it to where you're having a fuel pull in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And that's okay if you don't do
And
that
that's
right
what
now.
I was trying.
But you don't have
do,
to.
yeah.
It's okay.
Okay.
Not everybody is going to fit in that mold. So if something's not working, you need to change it, because
Okay.
what's going to happen is you're going to push yourself so hard, you're going to end up going off plan.
Yeah.
And that's going to sabotage all your hard work. So go ahead and have an on plan S or E.
And I feel like I eat too much dinner because of that.
Because you're so hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. That's fine. But you're gonna have, it's gonna be lighter, even though it's not fuel pull, it's S or E, it's still gonna be lighter because your protein's a little lighter and you're just, I don't know, it just works out that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I really think it'll be fine.
And then I have a question about the Trim Healthy Mama protein cookie.
Mhm.
Because I got some of those. I've
Okay.
got them in the refrigerator, but can they be frozen too?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that one. I knew the brownie bar. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
That's it. Okay,
Yeah.
easy. You're welcome. All right, anybody else?
Okay. I have been doing, and we've kind of touched on this at the last one. That's why I was so excited about this class. I would say November of last year, I hit what I was comfortable with weight wise and health wise. I'd reached all the goals that I had set out.
Good.
So that's
awesome.
where my love for crossovers came in, because that mentality of I'm at goal weight, I can eat what I want. I kind of fell into that, and I have not gained any weight. I have maintained within 5 pounds since then, but I've also become comfortable enough that I'm ready to lose again and get back into that. So I'm trying to tweak and make sure that I'm continuing to do it in a way that's healthy and
Mhm.
what's your phrase? Beneficial.
Yes.
Not just permissible, but beneficial, because
Yep.
I want to be able to feel the benefits of the food that I'm eating and that kind of thing. So how many S helpers would you say is too many to balance? Like if I try to replace some of my crossovers with the S helpers to ease out of that,
Yeah,
what would be
so-
the
So are you having a crossover every day?
no, but at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay, so let's
Sometimes
do
more
one.
than one a day.
Okay, so let's do one crossover a week and the other one's S helper and see how you do. If it's too much, or if you're just like feeling deprived, or you got some yucky thoughts creeping in about going off plan, move back up to another crossover or something. I think that would be fine.
Okay, this one's not crossover as much as THM, but
That's
the
fine.
little cookie dough protein bar that you just add water to.
Mhm.
I cannot make it work. Like, it tastes delicious, but I can't get it to mix where I feel like this is something I could truly take with me out of my house and be successful. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
it
so I
doesn't-
just keep it in the cup and eat it with a spoon.
But do you put the butter or
I do coconut oil.
Is it liquefied already? Like, do you use the liquid coconut oil or the solid?
Solid.
Well, mine is just weird. Maybe it's my coconut oil.
I don't know, maybe it is, but you could use liquid and then you wouldn't have to use as much water. But I don't know that I would add in the liquid. I don't know. That would, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
but
So
it just
if
seems
you're,
hard to mix. I either get it too soupy or
Mhm.
too dry,
Mhm.
and there's not really. I haven't been able to find an in between. So I just wondered if maybe it's just my coconut oil.
maybe I use the organic Walmart brand refined coconut oil. That's what I use.
I'll try again because it's delicious.
It is. I do back off of the coconut oil a bit because I want it to be a legit fuel pull. If you notice in the recipe, it says this is barely a fuel pull because you do have the coconut oil and the THM chocolate chips. That's what I use. I don't use Lily's if I can help it. But you know, so maybe back off the coconut oil, and then honestly, you could do more chocolate chips and not worry about the coconut oil. There's no Trim Healthy Mama police with that either. So, you know, if the coconut oil is your hang up, change it. That's what I think. We're talking about the instant cookie dough protein bar in Trim Healthy table, page 400 something another. But I do a dry mix of that in little 5-ounce cups and I do a little lid. All you have to do is add 2 teaspoons of water.
Do you put the coconut oil in your dry mix?
I do.
You do? Okay.
Mhm.
Because I made made some of the dry mix and I didn't put it in there, but I was like, well, why not? Because it's,
Yeah.
it sits in the cabinet. So
That's right. I just pop it right on top. And then when I do my water, I lie. I don't use a spoon to mix it up. I use a fork. So I use a fork and just work it, and then I eat it with a fork.
and it is good. I like that one.
It is. Any other questions? It's so fun. I never know what y'all are going to say. It's the best. I love it so much. I'm like, oh, am I going to know the answer?
Well, I'm wondering too if, since I don't seem to be really actively losing, if I should try and not really a crossover, but S helpers, or just stick to what I'm doing.
You could stick to one. I mean, I think I think in your situation where this fuel pull here and your timing is further apart, a lot of people do 3 hours.
Mhm.
You're doing 4 or 4.5. I think that you should try the S or E
Okay.
and do that for a few days and see what happens before you start doing S helpers, because I don't want you to get your toe in that pool and get stuck in it because
Yeah,
S
right.
helpers are tasty.
Okay.
Right, Amy
That's a
G?
good idea. All right.
It's hard to get out of, not gonna
And
lie.
I can eat a little more often. Like I wondered if I should do like a fuel pull snack and then have my lunch later, and then maybe even stretch it out till dinner, or play around with it that way. Yeah.
It's an experiment. It's always an experiment. And, a lot of people just do it differently because we all have different lifestyles. We have different schedules. We're different ages. We have different health issues. And it's just a constant experiment and changing things up. So I would not suggest changing too many things at once.
Yeah.
Stick to a plan for at least a week or so and assess.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Hey, yes, Cynthia.
So you you do CrossFit, and I mean, I burn a lot of calories on the morning I go to the gym. I go 4 mornings a week, but that isn't really when I get the hungriest. And how do you work your, eating around that? I mean, do you get hungry before you go exercise, or is it always after?
Sometimes I'll be at the gym. I'm like, y'all, I'm hungry. But I leave my house at 5 a.m. I wake up at 4:45. I get up at 4:45. I'm getting ready at 5:15. I'm usually leaving. Did y'all see me doing my clock?
Mhm.
I was like, what are you doing with your hand? Anyway, our class starts at 5:30. And this is what our class looks like, because people ask me this all the time. You do CrossFit, what does that mean? And I don't go every day. I go maybe twice a week. If I go 3 times a week, it's a miracle. Okay. Just it is. Okay. Hopefully this week will be a miracle because I really want to go Friday. It's April Fool's Day Friday, and the workout on the board is ridiculous. And I need to know what the real workout is because I'm praying to the Lord above. That's not really what we have to do. It's crazy. Anyway, I digress. Sorry. So I use like a vitamin water zero. I sip on that kind of on the way. But like I told y'all in buds, our whole point of exercising is to burn our adipose tissue, right? I know that I've properly fueled the day before. I'm gonna be fine. Now there's some people might have blood sugar issues and stuff. I have never experienced that. So I don't have any personal experience. And honestly, I've not really had any clients have issues with that. So I go to work out. When I go to work out, I have been fasting. So that's kind of what they call that. But within 30 minutes of my workout, I will fuel. Okay. So if you want to have a meal before or a small something, either, you're going to have a fuel pull, just a little something, because you don't want to overeat or fill your stomach up and then have an issue with that, and so it just depends on what time you're doing. Like I said, mine's super early, and that's very different from a lot of people. But that's what I do. So today, I met a client that's local. I met her at Waffle House. And so within 15 minutes of my workout, I was having eggs and bacon, and fueling that way. I typically do an S post CrossFit. And I would say that I'm not the hungriest at that point, Cynthia. I would say after CrossFit, I'm the hungriest for the next meal. Because sometimes I can have that. And like Monday when I was supposed to do meatless Monday with Blooms. And then I came home and my husband had breakfast ready for me. And it never crossed my mind I was supposed to be meatless, not once. It did not. I was like, oh, yes. So that day I had 2 eggs, I had deer sausage, and then I did some zucchini. I think that's what I had. It might've been spinach. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But so the next meal though, sometimes it is hard for me to even get to 3 hours. That's when I'm so hungry. That's when I'm the hungriest. And I go with it. If it's been 2.5, I just fuel. It's okay. S or E or fuel pull, whatever my heart desires. It doesn't matter. And so, I know that I've done my part. I know that I have worked out. I know I've done hard things. I know that my metabolism is awesome. And so I go with that. I really think listening to your body is essential. Susan over here knows there's something not right. Fuel pull may be too low calorie for her right now in her situation. Okay. So we're going to change that, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's really
She
helpful.
doesn't need to be doing that many crossovers, so we got to work through it. Does that help, Cynthia?
Yes, because I usually get so hungry, like either lunch or dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not hungry at all in the morning. Like I don't want to eat just because I need something to eat before I go. And I don't get always real hungry right after I exercise either.
So there's a difference between feeding yourself because you're hungry and fueling your body because your body needs it. There's a difference. Pearl, when she started talking about this quinoa thing, it was right when I was dealing with a lot of headaches. Now I've gone to a chiropractor and I have alleviated those, praise the Lord, but I did the quinoa thing every day almost for a week. And I typically have it in the fridge whenever I need it. Since I started doing that specific thing, because that's really the only things I've changed, my metabolism has revved up. And so I told Wes the other day, I said, I was actually hungry yesterday. Like I'm typically just not hungry. I just fuel. I just know that I need to fuel. So that is, I think that's a little bit of a misconception, that you have to be hungry to fuel. Not necessarily. If it's been 4 hours since you ate last, please do something, That's loving on your body. That's revving your metabolism. That's doing things the healthy way. Okay. And, think about this. If you're waiting to fuel when you're hangry, because typically you get hungry and you're like, oh, I'll put that off for a minute. Oh, I'm putting it off for another 10 minutes. Now I have to go actually make it. And that takes time. And then you're like, I'm going to eat everything in this house. So, if you go by timing, it's a little wiser,
I did the quinoa thing. I've never had it before, ever. And I made a big, as you say, vat of it.
Yes. Yes.
I'm the only one eating it. And I put it in jars, 3/4 of a cup, 3/4 of a cup. I mean, I probably made 12 jars of that. And I stuck them all in the freezer. And then I just pull them out, and that chocolate, what was that, sweatpants quinoa?
Yes.
Oh my word, that's so good.
Oh, it's so good. Yes, it is. Very good. I hate that my email's making noise. I thought that I turned that off. That annoys me.
I
I'm
can't hear it.
sorry. Really? Oh, good. It's driving me crazy every time it buzzes because people are signing up for Blooms, and every time they do, I get an email. Okay, that is great, Cynthia. I'm so proud of you for making quinoa. It's great, and I'm glad you said it right. Good job pronouncing it correctly. Quinoa, that's my favorite. Any other questions, girls? This has been a great class, even though it was just 5 of us, precious souls.
Okay, this isn't a question. But I
Okay.
found the unicorn. Can y'all see that?
Yes, you got the mango hibiscus. It is so good.
That is the
Okay.
best yogurt I've ever eaten. And since I'm trying to cut out some of my sour cream and other fattier dairy, this has been fabulous. So
I'm so glad. That's Camp's favorite too. Y'all are twins. Those boys have a yogurt every afternoon, and they now make their own. It's the best. I'm making a Coach Amy's yogurt banana split. They're so funny. What are you looking at there, Cynthia?
I have things I can make for dinner. I have things ready for dinner. I have leftovers, but it was not what I was wanting. And my husband was cutting an apple, and I'm not very hungry tonight, so I didn't want a big, heavy meal. So I went and grabbed one of my vanilla yogurts, and I put the peanut butter flour in it. Is that what you call that? Peanut powder, peanut butter
Pressed peanut
powder.
flour or whatever. Yeah.
And then I had a half an apple. So is that an E? To be an E?
Barely. I would have had the whole apple.
I had 3/4. He just wanted 2 pieces, so I
Oh,
shared it.
okay. That's okay then.
It was like 3/4. But it was good. Like I just made that all up by myself.
I'm so proud. Your first recipe.
Hey,
I hate writing recipes. Just going to tell all y'all listening that I cannot stand it. Oh, bless. There's so many questions. I'm like, I don't know. I just put bags of vegetables. It doesn't matter. People want specifics, and I don't blame them. I don't get me wrong, but it's like, oh, y'all gonna make me have heart palpitations. Just trying to share something with you. Oh my goodness. All right, girls, anything else before we go?
thank you.
You're welcome. Is that it, girls? All right. I hope y'all have a great week, and hopefully I'll see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.
Hi.
bye.